Hello and welcome. I'm Father Chris Schroeder, chaplain at the Smet Jesuit, and we are here with our latest edition of Spartan Voices Live. And I'm very proud to have as our guest today, our interview with Mr. Kevin Reuters, the newly named interim president of the Smet Jesuits. So Kevin, so glad you could join us today.
Chris, thanks for having me, and appreciate being on such a highly rated talk show.
Yeah, exactly. I would love, just as the quickest way maybe to introduce you to the Smet community, maybe just ask you, how would you introduce yourself? What kind of tidbits or life story do you feel like the Smet community should have?
Well, you know, the Smet obviously have a special place in my heart. I'm a '93 graduate. But more importantly, I think Jesuit education has played such an important role in my life. I mean, the greatest thing about the Smet, people ask me, why the Smet? And I've had that question, you know, over the last 20 years from folks. And I just think that they do such a great job of training young men how to be professional young men. And I don't think there's a better way to describe it. Obviously, it's the parents' role and responsibility to raise their children. But let's be honest, for a large portion of their adolescence, they're at school. So how are we transforming? How are we forming young men? And it played such a vital role when I was a young man on the right way to do things, how we do things. That Jesuit education has always held a special place in my heart. And having one boy that's graduated from the Smet and two that are here now, it's just a fantastic place and one that I feel very, very proud to be a part of.
That's excellent. Yeah, glad you mentioned you got both the student and the parent roles are familiar to you. So there's
right.
Definitely a double, two different, hopefully both positive experiences there.
Absolutely.
Maybe tell me a little bit about that student experience, though. What was some of the memories that you brought from your time as a student at the Smet?
You know, I think brotherhood is a word that gets thrown around a lot, and I think that's true. I think that's fine. I think the thing that I remember the most, whether it be from a teacher or from a coach, is that the everlasting lesson that I learned from the Smet is that I always hear a voice in the back of my mind, from whether it be Father Panay or Wally Sidney or Coach Vitello or Coach Bergman or whomever. There was always a way for them to tell us, that's not how we do that. This is not how we do it here. There's always that guidance. It's never don't do that or else. It's we don't do that here.
Yeah.
And those are the kind of the things that, you know, it's hard today for young people and especially young men to be guided in the right way when there's so many opportunities to be guided in the wrong way. That's the one thing that I can remember. And, you know, again, back in the 90s, to a lot of our students, that's, you know, a different century. I mean, you know, 100 years ago, it is a different century, but for them, it's 100 years ago. We didn't have the pressures they do now. And so I think that everlasting voice in the back of your head is the thing that I will remember and was so guiding in the right way to do things.
Yeah, kind of a call to be more than normal, but
absolutely. And you know, when you're in it and when you're a student, you don't think about the Jesuit teachings, you know, exactly the way you do as you get older. And you know, what does Curus Personalis mean, and AMDG and all those things? They're just kind of acronyms and things you think about. But as you grow older and you remember the things that you went through at school and your experience at the Smet, and then you start thinking and learning more about the Jesuit teachings, you're like, oh yeah, that makes a lot of sense. That's exactly what we were being taught. So yeah, that's important.
Yeah. So what are some of the things from your perspective right now? What would you hope that the Smet is calling your sons, actually, but any current Spartans? What do you hope the voice is calling them to become?
Well, I think my answer now is very different than it would have been even a month ago or even 3 months ago. I think we live in a world we live in a world that is high with anxiety and high with concern more now than ever. Of course, even 3 months ago, I felt that we had that as well. You watch young people and how they interact, and how they interact with each other, how they interact with their parents, how they interact with the world has changed massively. And so what we were concerned about, I think even 3 months ago, is how children interact with people, young men interact with people online, social media, all those things. Well, now we're in it. That is the only way really for them to interact. Yeah. So I think there's a pressure there for young people to be able to have an escape. And what I hope is that young folks are realizing that now is a good opportunity to get offline, because they're forced to be online for 6-7 hours a day, whether it be a Zoom or a Teams or a this or that, that maybe they're actually experiencing less screen time with their devices when it comes to social media. Maybe not. Mm-hmm. But I do think that it's a crazy time. And I guess what we would love for all of our students and our parents to know is we get it. We understand it's a crazy time. And we would not be who we say we are if we don't recognize that everybody's very concerned, very anxious. And we're here. We're with you. We get it. Mm-hmm. We understand things are going to change. We're going to change with you, and we're going to help you. No one left behind. So we're going to make sure that we do everything we possibly can to live our Jesuit values, and to every young man and to their families, that we're going to get it done. Yeah.
I like that idea that change is definitely a requirement of living in this moment. It's not going to be the same as it was.
Sure.
But that doesn't mean it can't be still excellent, still, the best we can accomplish.
Absolutely. I mean, if without this pandemic, we wouldn't have all the memes of older folks like myself struggling with cameras and letting the young kids with their memes throw it all out there and have some fun with the older folks.
Exactly. Good. So tell me a little bit about your kind of pandemic experience. I imagine you're sheltering in place with your family. Is that the case? Or?
I am. I do get up. I do get to the Smet. There's no one here, so I can hop in my office and also be socially distanced from everyone and be confined into my office, because I do have 4 boys at home, 3 that are students at the Smet, and my son that graduated from the Smet, and then my wife. So the bandwidth sometimes can be a version of Hunger Games.
Yeah.
So, and it's probably better for them that I get out once in a while, because it's a different world. But yes, it's everything is a Zoom meeting or a Microsoft Teams meeting. It's interesting to see that I didn't realize that every person in the world had a dog. I am a dog owner, but everyone has a dog. And if not, they have great just background dog barking sounds, and it's probably my favorite thing is to watch the panic on someone's face when their dog's barking, and trying not to freak out on camera so they don't look like a lunatic, and trying to get Muffy to stop barking. But that's one of my highlights of the day, is to watch people panic when their dog barks, which, dogs bark.
Yeah. I was just on a call with Mr. Lenzini of the Smet fame, and one of his boys was very interested in showing the meeting his new basketball cards. So there's always those little moments of interruption that make things a little more real.
Right.
I was thinking it would also be good just to let the student body and everybody know a little bit about your history. So, for example, Justin Timberlake.
I do, yeah. I've worked for Justin for 12 years, or did work for Justin for 12 years.
Okay, tell us about that.
I worked for Anheuser-Busch prior to that for 10 years, and I left there. We were working on a project with him, and that project went away when Anheuser-Busch was in the process of being sold. So I left and went to work for him. And I've been with him for 12 years. Great guy. He's been awesome to my boys and to my family. Very normal human being.
Nice.
Product of great parents. But pretty normal guy. A lot of fun to be around. Has been to the Smet. Went to a lacrosse game last year. Has given to our auction quite a few times, and I will be pressing him to do so again.
Hey.
But overall, great dude, and really fun to be around, and has been a huge supporter of me taking a little jump off into something else for a little while.
Okay, that's a good to know. That's great to have that connection. Any uh, fun stories or moments that you want to share?
Mostly golf. We do play a
Ah,
lot of golf together. He's toured. He's been in St. Louis, I think, twice since I've been with him. Yeah, twice. Yeah, twice. One of those times he did go see my oldest son at a wrestling match at Kirkwood. So he walked in and gave him a little hype before the match.
nice.
And obviously he's come here for a lacrosse game, so he knows what the Smet is. Obviously, we've had an opportunity to play some great golf courses, so
Okay.
that's been probably the highlight without a question. Golf is such a great game, and that's something we do together quite a bit. And we had some opportunities to play some really cool places.
Well, that's really cool. And I'm sure the guys will love to hear that.
No, absolutely.
I'm gonna switching back then a little bit to talk a little bit about the SMET. Just in terms of, I'd be interested to hear what's your sense of the school, where we are. I mean, obviously we're in the midst of a pretty uh, disrupted moment, but just both in that and beyond, I'd love to hear kind of what your sense of who the school is. And so I thought of this sentence. I want to give you a sentence, and I want you to finish it. So, the Smet Jesuit is the best at.
Um, the Smet Jesuit is the best at bringing a young 14-year-old young man in as an eighth grader into a freshman and helping to mold him and push him in the right direction so that when he's an 18-year-old young man leaving this place, that he is prepared for what he is going to enter when he gets out of here.
Yeah.
And I think that's the to me is the number one thing that is so important. And don't get me wrong, there's a great number of places in St. Louis where you can get a good education. There's no question about it. We're blessed in St. Louis. I know everyone jokes about the high school question in St. Louis, but there's a
Yeah.
reason for it. It's awfully darn good.
Yeah.
People don't ask you where you went to high school in other places for whatever reason. Maybe they don't like Provel cheese or whatever that reason is. I think, the Smet has that it factor, that other thing. And that's what I'm most, that's how I would finish that sentence. They have the it factor.
Okay. Excellent. Um, what would be your hopes for the school as you look forward to the future? I mean, what would be some of the things that you'd love to grow or continue to work on?
Sure. I think the future, and not to sound, scary, but let's just be honest. I think the future is as cloudy as it's ever been of any time that I've been alive, and probably for everybody that's alive right now. It's never been cloudier as a group. And I think the one thing I want folks to take away from this video, if they watch it,
Yeah.
is that we're here. We're here for you. We're going to figure out a way to make it work. We get it. We understand that everyone's life is changing. Everyone. I don't care what line of work you were in or are in, your life changes. Your life is going to change. Your kids' lives are changing. Your boys' lives are changing. Our seniors are missing out on a massive amount of things. And for that, we're terribly sorry to them. We're going to do everything in our power to make sure that we give them the opportunity to experience those things. To our underclassmen, the same thing. We want you back. We need you back. And on our eighth graders coming in, we need you. We're going to figure out, we will do everything we can. We promise you. We just need you to tell us where you're at, so we can meet you there.
Yeah.
So we can understand how we can do this together. That's what I want people to know. I want at least there be a level of anxiety or concern from both our students and our parents and our faculty and our staff that we're going to be pragmatic here. We're going to do everything we can. So maybe at least we can take away a little bit of anxiety, a little bit of concern. Other things obviously are as more important in people's daily lives. And if we can just take one thing and just say, look, we're gonna figure it out together. That would be the one thing I would love for people to take away. And once we get through this, then we'll figure out how we can do all the other things that we're not allowed to do right now.
Yeah, I like that point that the need for communication is so real. Like I remember just in the past couple of weeks, so many times I've been glad to hear like some project, some way, some teacher is responding or the school is responding, and I just didn't know. It's so hard to kind of stay connected. So I think that's a good point to absolutely, hopefully families can be in touch with us, and that we'll continue to use all of our known means of communication to reach them. Absolutely.
I think, our leadership team has done a fantastic job. They've been doing it for years. This isn't a new thing. And I think we would encourage our parents to really pay attention to our parent bulletin on Friday, because we're going to try and use those Friday parent bulletins as our best way to communicate with our folks. We get it that you're getting an email from anyone or everyone that you've ever done business with. Or even if you haven't done business with them, if they have your email, they're letting you know how they're handling this crisis.
Yeah.
So we want to try and stay away from giving you 13 emails a day and text messages and all those things. So we're really going to continue to make sure that we use that Friday parent bulletin as a great way to reach out to our parents, to let them know what's going on. And of course, if you go on our website, you can figure out a way to get a hold of everybody. You can get a hold of me at Schroeder, KRUDER @thesmet.org. Let me know how we can help. But that's just, we're at a very different place. And so let's meet it.
Amen. Well, I for one am excited to have you helping us and joining us at the team here at the Smet Jesuit. I think it's going to be really great. I think you're well positioned, going to do a great job. So anything else you want to share with the families and students of the Smet?
No, I just think, the one thing I would leave everyone with is this thing is a great equalizer. It's, we're all here now. We're all in this together, and whether it's politics or finances or whatever, everybody's here now. So let's figure it out. Let's figure it out together. We understand that everybody's hurting and has anxiety. Young guys, do your best to reach out to your buddies and continue to do the things you used to do. Just do it now from a farther distance. And parents, anything we can do to help. Faculty, staff have been tremendous. It's just a completely new way of learning and adjusting in 30 days. So I just want to thank everyone for their understanding and then for their efforts. And you know what, the Smet is such a great place, and it's so awesome that we'll just handle it together. Let's just go do it. Let's band together as a bunch of Spartans and continue doing what we do best, and that's educating our young men and getting them ready for what the future holds.
Awesome. That's a great message. Thank you so much, Kevin.
Awesome, Chris. Appreciate it. Good to see you.
Amen.
All right, amen.